Hi everyone, my name is Kat Sachs. I am the co-managing editor of Cinephile Chicago, as I said. It's a weekly list that we send out via email and put up on our website, so you can sign up for that at cinephile.info. I'm also a film critic for the Chicago Reader and Movie Notebook. Now that I've introduced myself, let's go through and have everyone introduce themselves and say what you did for or in the film.
I'm Stanley Coelho. I know it's a Polish name, but I'm Indian. I'm the liquor store owner.
Nice.
In the film.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah Chang and I played Shelley, the apparently not very useful assistant director.
My name is Jacek Adamski and I've been playing a friend of the main actor here, so thank you.
My name is Przemek Bosak. I played the role of Paweł, the frustrated Polish intellectual and an on and off smoker.
Hi, my name is Stanisław Witek. I play Łukasz, friend of Chris. I'm an original Polish contractor, also an actor eventually.
My name is Krzysztof Życzycki. Na imię Marcin Kowalik i miałem szaloną, ogromną przyjemność zagrać rolę Krzysztofa Rzeczyckiego. Dzięki Martinie. Thank you, Martina.
I'm Martina Reese. I'm the writer and director, and due to a strange set of circumstances related to COVID, I replaced the very fine actress who was originally cast in the role of Abigail Gordon.
Corey Gilbert, producer.
I'm Mackenzie Nevels, and I was the first assistant director.
I'm Victor Tan. I was the guy that pushed the red button and record everything.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Good to meet you. Martina, my first question is for you. I'm curious what compelled you to make a film about this subject. It seems to be a very particular lived experience. What about it interested you?
I wouldn't have made the film if I hadn't met Joanna Ballon, who was a woman about my age, and we discovered that we had filmmaking in common. We were making short films. We helped each other on our projects. And in the process of developing our friendship, I got to know some things about her life circumstances, and that became the springboard for a movie that was not about Joanna, but definitely inspired by Joanna. As Joanna and I became closer, I understood more things about her life circumstances, and those things were very different than my own life, and I'm grateful to her for having been open enough to speak revealingly and at times invite me into social settings that expose me to people I wouldn't have met otherwise. And it's important to me to say that this was a springboard for the movie, but ultimately it wasn't really about Joanna, except in that she worked with me to develop the script and help me with translations, and best of all, help me connect with actors in the Polish-American community who became our amazing cast, and there's no way I could have done it without her. My hope was that she would be here tonight to celebrate our collaboration, and unfortunately she passed away, and so she's here in spirit and truly the inspiration for this film.
Corey, in her thanks to you, Martina mentioned that you took a chance on her. Apparently you did not know one another before you stepped on as producer for the film. I'm curious, what drew you to this project as a producer?
Several things drew me to the project. The subject matter obviously draws you to a project. This one did, in the sense that it was about a unique character that I didn't have a lot of experience with in terms of a Polish immigrant, sort of a lost in translation story, and that was very interesting to me. To do a project that was going to be bilingual was very interesting for me to do. It was also very attractive to me because I've done lots of short films over the last decade or so and lots of web series projects and things like that. And so, I eventually want to do my own features, writing and directing, but I felt like I wanted to produce before I did that. And this project was, it was a good story, and it was, but it had a reasonable scope. And so I felt that it was a responsible story to take on as a first-time producer for a feature. And so those are the high-level things. But then there were lots of things that ended up being awesome about it. Working with Martina was fantastic because she's, I think she's at a point in her filmmaking career where she's doing it for all the right reasons. She's doing it because she has a genuine passion for the storytelling. Isn't focused on some of the external things that you can get focused on, and that was like awesome to me. And it makes her very pragmatic and very realistic and very easy to work with in that sense. And so that's ultimately what made me very happy that I took the project on.
Kind words being said about Martina. Great. Hannah and Mackenzie.
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie,
Yeah.
perfect. So the film deals as much with the making of the film, almost as much as it does with Chris, his ambitions, and how that interacts with situations going on in his life. How did this resonate with both of you as assistant directors? And I assume you did a great job, even though your character was maybe lacking in that regard, especially on a smaller production where like every decision really counts.
Sorry, what was the question? Can you repeat that? My bad.
So as the film deals so much with filmmaking, and you two are the assistant directors on the film, and that's that character is reflected in the film. Hannah, you play it excellently. How did that resonate with you as the actual crew members, especially on like a small production like this, where every decision is like crucial?
I see, yeah. It really resonated with me, and it really clicked on, it's either like the second or third day when we were in your apartment, and it's the scene where Marcin is talking about how long he's been in the United States, and coming from the restaurant industry, I've known a lot of people in very similar situations who have come here to work, bring money back for their families, and then end up staying here a lot longer than they had anticipated. So that was probably what resonated most for me and what really sort of drove me to do my best on this project. Yeah.
Great.
So I actually played the assistant director, but I was not the actual assistant director.
Oh, I am so sorry. I had my
No,
notes
that's
wrong.
all good.
I'm so
I made that
sorry.
very confusing.
Yeah. Was there another assistant director up here?
Just me.
Just me. Okay.
I wish there was another one. It's just me though.
Mac was he's way better than Hannah's character in the story. He's the unsung hero of everybody up here.
I got to insert something here. This was a low-budget film by film standards, and what I discovered is that the most precious commodity in filmmaking is time. And by the way, money buys more time, but we won't go into that. So we lacked for time, and every day we had an overly ambitious shot list, and every day started with a discussion of what shots we were going to cut and how we were going to manage to make the rest of them. Mac was the guy that made that happen, so that we ended up with the material that could be cut together to make an awesome film. Without him, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. I don't want to linger on it too much longer, but yeah, an assistant director, for those of you who might hear that term, they really are the person that makes the whole each and every day of production run from beginning to end. They make sure that we stay on time. They make sure that everybody's showing up to set on time. They're sometimes the bad cop on set, but Mackenzie does it in such a way where he makes sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. He takes charge, but he does it in a way where he's gracious and everybody still loves him at the end of the day. That's tough to do in his position, but he really is the person that makes sure that we make every day, and when and that means that we're making it within the budget and still getting everything that we need to make Martina's story happen. And so assistant directors are unsung heroes, and to me, as a producer and a director, they are my heroes. And that's why I asked him to be up here tonight, because he didn't want to do it, but I said, no, you come up because you deserve to be up here. With that, I'll stop talking about assistant directors.
I guess I'll just say thank you to both of you. That's very flattering. But it is definitely a team effort. I can't do my job if, Victor's not doing his, Corey's not doing his, Martina's not doing hers. So, yeah, I just want, a general shout out. Thank you to the crew for making my life a little bit easier.
Martine. So I did a little Google stalking because I was researching the cast. Apparently not well enough. I apologize. My notes, I transferred them from being typed up to handwritten, and it did not go well, apparently. But I saw that you're a scenic artist in, real life. Your LinkedIn page, you might have seen me stalking you, says it involves carpentry, floor installation, upholstery, and even painting. I'm curious how maybe you drew on that in your role as Chris. Someone who does similar jobs, but also has this connection to the arts.
Yeah, I guess I do a lot of things in my life. And to be honest with you, whenever I do something, I always bring into the table all I've been through. All the stuff I did before. It doesn't matter if I change my work or something. So when I start my theater adventure journey, I always bring everything, all the tools I have, all the different experience I've been through life. So I guess that's why I was able to bring everything to it.
You spackled really convincingly. So, and I'm much like in the film, I'm probably going to butcher the name, so I apologize in advance. Marcin Stanowov, am I saying that correctly?
I'm sorry.
Marcin and then Stanowov?
You can call me Stan, it's easier.
Stan, okay, there you go.
Hey.
Sadek? This is bad. Can all the Polish actors say their names again for me?
Don't worry about it, I get this all the time.
Yeah. So the film provides a really interesting perspective on being an immigrant in the United States, specifically from Poland. For the Polish actors, were you able to relate to your characters, and why or why not?
Yeah, of course, I relate with the character. I'm actually like real-life contractor. I do tiles, and I like a lot of sugar in my coffee. Yeah. Okay, I will work out more or something. I also like to pick up waitresses with the cheesy lines. Most of the time, unsuccessfully. Well, I'm trying.
Art imitates life.
Yeah, I didn't even have to pretend, it's just my character,
The public intellectual up on stage?
I wanna hear you say it.
I'm sorry. Oh, no. Shunek?
Przemek.
Shunek? Okay. I love Polish cinema too, so this is embarrassing, but I can really only say the names of the directors. Love to hear how that question applies to you. It's a thinker.
That's right.
Come on, Mr. Intellectual.
Well, I honestly don't know what to say. I mean, it applies to me because, I see it. I don't know if I've lived it per se. I was I was still in elementary school. My family moved to America, so some of the struggles, or some of the different types of struggles that the characters in the film are faced with don't directly apply to me, but this is my heritage, and I certainly know a ton of people, you know, who are or have been in the situation that Chris faces in the film, and so. On a different note, what was easy for me to portray was the friendship. Marcin is one of my best friends, and so I hope that came off well in the film. I don't know. I without tooting my own horn a little too much. I am a nerd, and so, you know, playing a part of an intellectual was the one that I was well suited for, I would say. But you know, the audience can judge the results by themselves. But thank you.
The results are good, apparently. And sir, the character whose on-screen wife was apparently not very happy with you.
Well, what can I say? First of all, I'd like to thank for the opportunity. It was an incredible experience, and it's been a pleasure to work with you guys, with all of you. I like this kind of work, and it just seems like this kind of work usually finds me. And this character, actually, that I've played over here, it's actually me too, you know. It's like, okay, I didn't have to try much, you know, for this. So, although it took me 2 years to memorize it, no, just kidding. So, yeah, it's been fun. I really did enjoy it, and you guys are great. Well, it's a beautiful life, too. You know, if we could do that and live off of it, I mean, what else can you ask for, right? Maybe except singing too, because I actually consider myself a singer first and then a little bitty actor. So, but anyway, thank you. And who's next?
So I wanted to open it up to the other actors on stage, and Hannah, this is where you can shine. Hannah and Martina, since you perform in the film as well, same question applies to you. I'd be curious to know if there's any resonance with your character, why or why not?
Go, Hannah.
So I have also, like, I know a lot of people who have had that kind of experience, the not just immigrant experience, but undocumented experience. So that resonates with me a lot. It's interesting to see how that is similar through all different cultures. And it's really sad, you know, like it's a really difficult place to be in. You are here because you are trying to support your families in a much more sustainable way, but what does that even really mean? You are losing so much in exchange. So that resonated with me, and I mean, also, it was just like it was just fun to be there, honestly. I love being on set. Like, every set that I'm on is just such a blast. So it's always like wonderful people that I work with. So it's like the story and the people. It's just good all around.
You're amazing. Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
The rapport with the cinematographer was great. I'm actually coming for you in a second. So, sure. Martina, can you answer the question from the perspective of being an actor in the film?
Yeah, when I wrote the role of Abigail, I didn't think I was going to play it. And we went through casting, and many fine actresses auditioned, and one was selected. So I still think it's kind of a shame that that actress didn't get to do this role. But since I was in it, I realized that I'd kind of written some aspects of myself into it, like being a bossy pants, definitely. You know, that came through loud and clear. And the other side is just struggling always to understand what it's like to exist in a different body and have a different set of experiences. And, you know, I think in some ways Abigail is just kind of an asshole. And this process of trying to understand what it is like to live someone else's life when it's not yours, and to do that with empathy, is a lifelong, ongoing process. And I hoped that Abigail might reflect that kind of struggle and difficulty.
Can I add something?
I'm sorry?
Can I add something? So you said just now that I had great rapport with Miles, Andre over there. I will say it was not difficult for me to be mad because you legitimately, he was such a dick, but like it was great, right? Our scene, our chemistry was excellent for that reason.
Well, speaking of the light being on, meaning that you're filming, Victor, so the film, in terms of its aesthetics, it kind of has like a dual aesthetic. On one hand, many scenes are very realistic. You know, they're set in the real world. They're meant to appear like the real world. But on the other hand, there are certain scenes that are more stylized, really striking, including some like really beautiful medium close-ups and very, very close-ups. Can you speak to your technique on the project and kind of how you merge those two aesthetics?
Sure. So overall, I think it was, it's supposed to be realistic, just the overall picture of it, because it is based on someone's life experiences, and also as an immigrant myself, I wanted to make sure the realism is there. It's not too dramatic. It's not too out of this world. So like most of the exterior scenes are just implemented with realistic lights, bounces and negative fills and stuff like that. And then the stylized ones are just something that I think, like for example, the bathroom scene when it's like really dark and moody, it's just sometimes people want to not be in this world just to escape. For example, just going to movies is like to escape. And sometimes you're back in the real world, sometimes you just don't want to be here. So that's kind of the approach. And Martina wanted to also have this film look a little bit like Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad kind of thing. So we took a lot of inspiration from those two TV shows and we made it work. And we were supposed to film this in 2020, actually, but you know, because of the pandemic, Martina actually took a lot upon herself to do a lot of the homework for an entire year. So a year later, she reached out to me and said, hey, let's meet up and chat again. And we met up at the coffee shop, and she just presented this Bible, this blueprint with everything. And I felt like I did nothing. So I guess a big part of it is Martina doing a lot of her homework and just made my life a lot easier on set. So I guess a big part of it is really Martina's vision. So, yeah.
Stanley. I heard that you impressed Martina so much that she wrote that part just for you. Both of you, Martina and Stanley, I would like to hear your thoughts on that particular scene because I feel like it really stands out. It's maybe the most enigmatic in the film, if not the most, like among them. So what's your take on what's happening in that scene?
Well, let me say this. Let me give a shout out to Joette Waters, who's the casting director. And Joette is the one actually lured me to Martina. And if I remember, when I auditioned, it was for the part of the father getting into the accident initially. And then things have changed, and Martina and I had a conversation about the part that I was going to play, and I think we had a long conversation on the phone about how, and Martina has an organic way of writing the way she does, and I think when you look at the film, every single thing that you see has been done deliberate to what she shows you, and you can feel the reality in it. My part was, initially was supposed to be at the cleaners when it was written, and then was changed to playing a liquor store owner. And I told Martina, it wouldn't be realistic to put an Indian guy at the cleaners. So and then Martina was like, yeah, well, it may work, but, and then, and she found this nice, beautiful store up in Oak Park that we shot at, and it worked out beautifully. So my part came in, and I think Martina I had a conversation about being an immigrant and the struggles that an immigrant goes through. And I think she really got that part about every different ethnic backgrounds that come over here. They have their own struggle, and like Polish Americans have, like Indians have, maybe from Latina or Mexico. We all have our struggles, and I think she took everything, and she sent me the script after when she finished it, and I think it came out really nice, and I'm just glad to be a part of this project.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
My version goes like this. Yes, we were looking for a father-son combination for the teen driver and his overbearing dad, but we had to find a dad or mother character and a teen boy or girl who looked the right age relationship and looked like they could be related. And it turned out to be really hard to find somebody who could pass for the teen. So Stan was really good, but the teen he came along looked like he was 28. So Stan didn't get to be the dad, but I was so impressed by his audition that, I thought, I got to write a scene for this guy, and that's where the liquor store scene came from. And one of the odd things that happened is when I was looking for a location, a liquor store in which we could shoot the scene, I discovered that, at least in the area I looked in, most of the liquor stores were owned by Indian Americans. And it just seemed so, I hadn't expected that, but I found it to be generally true. So putting Stan in that situation turned out to be, magically appropriate.
Can you talk more about what the scene means in the context of the film?
For me, the scene, Chris is the central character, and one way of showing Chris's journey is to show Chris progressing through a series of encounters. Another way to talk about Chris's condition is to contrast his condition with that of other people. So in the fender bender, he'd like to just drive away, whereas Abuelito would like to make sure he does the right thing and call the cops and file an insurance report. He doesn't have any concern about an interaction with the police because presumably he has documentation. So that's a way of contrasting their two situations. In the case of the liquor store scene, as I thought about it, I realized that Polish immigrants, until they open their mouths, pass for white people. And it's only at the point when they speak that they are identified as immigrants. So all of the privileges that come to white people just as a result of their whiteness can be assumed by Polish people in general. So that scene was intended to put Chris in a really uncomfortable position of having something in common with that man, in that they're both immigrants and speak with accents. But the difference between them is that one of them is white and one of them is not. And so the reaction of the teens, assuming that Chris is an ally who would want to be part of a high five, was just intended to show that Chris's status is different than the liquor store owners.
And now we'll open it up to the audience. I know there are some roaming mics around, so just raise your hand and someone will hand you a mic. There's someone in the back over there?
I want to commend you, Martina. As a white woman, I think that creating a film that can so well speak to white ignorance, white privilege, and that last scene, white fragility, blew me away. it is a very subtle yet strong message, and I hope you get lots of people to view it. I am impressed with all the diversity on the stage. I think you have a powerful message, and thank you for sharing it.
I have a question for any and all of the actors. If you could add a scene with you being the main interest in the scene, add a scene to the film, what would that scene be? What would happen? What would we be watching?
If you could add a scene to the film that kind of centers on your character, this might be difficult for you since it does all center around you, but what scene would that be?
First of all, I would say that was my first experience with the film. I never did it before. I did play in the theater. So the whole thing, working with the team, with all you guys, was like extremely different than anything I did before. The way how you work was like nothing I seen before. It's even working in the production company. I never seen nice people. It's always bad. It's always bad. It's always a lot of nerves. So being in this team was wonderful. Was really wonderful. It was very difficult to play this character, this particular character, and I'm gonna be honest with you, after, it was like 10 days, 11. After 11 days, I was drained, completely drained. If we will have to go for another, I probably will be falling on, on the scene. I guess the way that Martina created the entire thing and all circumstances that we were not able to put this whole thing together from the scene one to the end gave me the time to kind of go into it, and also that you, Martina, played that role of Abigail. That probably gave me a lot of extra comfort zone, I would say, as an experienced actor as well. And seeing today myself here, it's a big thing. It's a really big thing. I never, ever had thoughts in my head that might happen. So I'm really shocked today, and thank you so much.
To answer your question, Martina actually had a scene in mind, an extra scene that is not in the film, and perhaps if enough of you put enough money in the hat, perhaps we will make one. But I'd like to say that the film encompasses the range and the scope of the experiences of Polish Americans is really quite almost all-encompassing. You have a scene in the nightclub, you have a scene on the street when someone gets rear-ended, you have, you saw the film. The one that I would personally add would be us in a park playing soccer, and I think it speaks not just about Polish immigrants, but I think it's a trait of many nationalities. We would be playing in the park and being competitive and busting each other's balls until one of us gets hurt pretty badly, okay? and refuses to go to a doctor because he doesn't have health insurance. I think that would really complete the picture.
Let me tell you what I would add to my scene. After the drinking coffee, we would have switched to something stronger. And then we would ended up in my place having a huge party. And the next day, Chris would not get up to work. That's how I see it.
You'll have your chance at the after party, it sounds like.
That's my character, all right? I just feel it. I just feel it.
How do I say it? If I would like to add some third scene with me, I would probably want to like another chance with that gorgeous waiters. Whew. I have a different plan now. Not licking fingers, different lines totally. Yep, she's gorgeous. All thing aside, Martin did a really great job with getting into that role and emotions. I'm really amazed by his performance and everyone else, so I'm pretty great that I was part of this great project. Thank you, Martina, 13, everyone.
I actually think it would have been fun to like have Martin bring all of his friends to his audition, like all of them try and be gym rats. Just for fun, you know.
Stanley? What other scene would you like added for your character?
Well, actually, we kind of broke it down. So I think the character that I played in there was perfect for mine. I wouldn't have added anything and even taken out anything. I think we discussed it in length, how we wanted that scene to be. And I think it really helped understand the relationship between Martin and me. I do wanted to say this because we discussed this in writing, that I could be born over here and speaking English perfectly and won't say a word, and Martin will be right beside me, won't say a word. I'll be judged before him, and that's exactly what Martina was trying to get to. And I think that scene played really well with the kids. They're not kids, but and the teenagers who came and created problems. So I think I wouldn't have added anything. Yeah.
Perfect as is. Great. Yep. Okay, the hand over there, I think, yeah.
Mike.
Hello?
Oh, all right, sorry. We'll get to you in a moment, yeah.
My name is Maciej Goraj. Goraj. Yeah. Always is a problem. So my supervisors say simple Maciej, because the last name is the problem. So I say Maciej. Maciej, difficult to repeat. So I figure out macho man. Macho man. Yeah, Mexican macho man. I say, it's really best true, macho. But I am here generally to thanks to director, screen, and this team that we exist in America. Polish people, I come in age 39. Today I am 72. And what I want to say, this is my story, really. I was 20 years actor in Poland, and I did many jobs, truck driver, housekeeper. And what I want to say, this is the source history, Polish, American. It's a lot of good things for screens, for the movies. This is preview, in my opinion.
But good things it happened that we have opportunity to develop ourselves. I am financial advisor today, okay? So I pass through tests, everything, and I keep on licenses. But I was 20 years actor in Poland. A lot of movies is on my screen. So it was not accident like the Marcin. I am very proud of you guys, Marcin and Stanisław Witek next to you guys. Really do a good job. We did in the theater we have a rehearsals and we have a contact and performance. But anyway, thank you very much to director in this project, to Polish actors, and pretend to be super actors known the whole world. Thank you very much. God bless. We go forward. Polish American, go forward. Never stop.
Hi, I wanted to ask you a question about gender. So the light seems to be shown on Polish men, although we hear Chris's wife through the phone and we understand that there are other people in the community, but the light is on the Polish men, yet the women in the film tend to be this sort of mix of the waitress, of Abigail, the assistant director. And I was wondering if whomever wants to answer that, whether that was what you were trying to establish more with that, or why? Why the focus only on the Polish men in that way, and what were the contrasts?
Maybe I'm the best one to answer that question since I wrote the script for these Polish men to interact. I guess as a female who lives in a female body, it was an interesting challenge for me to try to write scenes where men interact with men. And something I think a lot about is I'm not in spaces where men interact with other men without the female gaze being present, except in watching film. So it's kind of interesting to think that all my ideas about what men do when women aren't around come from other people's films. So here I was writing a film where I was trying to speculate what would three guys sitting at a cafe table, or what would that be like. So I think for me it was partly just an exercise in trying to develop a scene for people who live in a different way than I do. So that was part of it. Just maybe a challenge for empathy and imagination.
Of course.
So perhaps it happened as accident, but the film is quite accurate when it comes to, the way, I mean historically, socially, men in Poland are the breadwinners, okay? So it would be them who would come over from Poland to earn the dollars and to send back to. So as far as that is concerned, that would be quite accurate, okay? It would rarely happen the other way around.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Any more questions?
I have a question.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't need the mic. Is this film going to be in any festivals, or is there a wider way to see it?
If you know anybody who runs a festival, could you please put in a word?
Okay.
So far, we've submitted it to maybe 7 film festivals. Some of those are festivals that focus on the Polish experience, and others are American film festivals. So I don't know. I hope so.
You're submitting it.
Yeah, already have submitted it to several. I mean, I would love if we were chosen for the Chicago International Film Festival, I submitted it under the city and state category, thinking that this story is quintessentially Chicago. So what better for CIFF than this film? Fingers crossed.
I had someone right here.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Martina, you are portraying Krzysztof as a broken man, really. And the scene in a store where the two youngsters are going crazy and he's watching it, he's a coward. He doesn't react, right? He's on a side. Why wouldn't you let him show that he is a worthy man that would react, that would take side, that would in some way try to remedy the situation or help the storekeeper? I would love to see it. I would love to see that he's not just a weakling, because he came out as a weakling.
I hear you, and I think it is so tempting to want Chris to fly in and save the day by being a hero. But honestly, I think the reality is that in many similar cases, white people find it very difficult to intercede in a way that is helpful. There are many ways to intercede that are not helpful, to be, patronizing or to decide it's your moment to be a white savior. I think it's a very fraught kind of thing to know what to do in a case like that. So I think although Chris does come across perhaps as cowardly, I think maybe it's not unrealistic that in a similar situation, a man like Chris might just feel an incredible amount of awkwardness, but not quite know how to intercede or to relate to the man. I think those situations are in fact quite awkward. Maybe Chris would go home and think he could have done better if he could replay it, but in the moment, it didn't seem far-fetched to me that Chris would be sorry, maybe a little stuck on what he could do. One of the characteristics of Chris that I wanted to play up is that he didn't want anybody's pity. And perhaps part of it was him thinking that he didn't want to do something to make the liquor store owner feel that he pitied him. Because the liquor store owner, he's dealt with this before. Maybe there was some of that in it for Chris too. I don't know. I'm going to ask Chris, why did you not intercede? Like, why were you such a coward in that moment?
First of all, I guess there was an idea. It was something that he really wanted, and he couldn't get it. He knows what's going on. He knows the idea it's not real. He's trying to be always like in the shadow of any kind of scene. He's not trying to be a main character at all. He kind of got that something inside of him that tells him like you need to stay back. You cannot push yourself because someone could see you, someone could kick you out from here at any point. That's why he's always like trying to, I would say, play safe, play a possum, be dead a little bit. Yeah, I would say that's why.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair question that was asked. I would say that very simply, in that scene in the liquor store, I think Chris is, he's in the same position in his mind as he was in the accident scene, where any type of interaction that could bring the authorities into it is something he needs to avoid. And so that's the reason why he was shying away and just wanted to leave the accident scene. I think it would be the same reason why his character would be motivated, although he might be frustrated and want to defend the liquor store owner, and might even just might be frustrated on the inside because he might want to do it. His character might want to do it, but he ultimately knows that he can't, because any type of possible authority interaction might mean that he has to get sent home.
I think, if I may add, I think that when the scene was going on and I realized that, I really didn't see myself as a victim. And I said, these are just some kids. They always come and do things at the store. So I don't see myself as a victim. But what I noticed was when the young girl looks at Chris, is like, hey, give me a high five, you know? And Chris just looks at her like, that was like supporting for me. And I looked at it like, okay, he's on my side here, because she's creating all this nonsense over here. He's not saying anything because of his character, the way he is, but at the same time, he just gives me a look like, I don't appreciate what they're doing, I just want you to know that. And that's the reason he did not give a high five back to her, you know, because he looked at it like, you know, just get out of here. And I think the interaction he had, I think we took that time when you came and stood in front of me, it was like, okay, I'm with you, but I'm not going to say anything. So I didn't feel that I needed somebody to come and save me at that point. I just looked at it like it's just another day at the store.
But at the same time, I didn't want you to ask me for the ID either.
Yeah.
No, that was a very powerful scene, but you did really, at least the boy, you owned him. He was very flustered, so yeah.
Well, he played a good victim, I should say, you know, more than me. I think he made me look good while we were playing it, and he was really, I shouldn't say this, like shitting in his pants in a way, because the way I was interrogating him, and we went back and forth with that scene. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and that young woman was delightfully sociopathic. She played that very well. Are there any, yep, right there?
Thank you all for sharing your amazing talents in this film. My question is, was there any particular scene that you found to be especially challenging from a technical standpoint?
Good question.
Burger Antics was definitely, the restaurant scenes were definitely the most complicated on my end, at least. So on a day-to-day basis, I would be, you know, running the show for the day, making sure that we're getting everything that we need, planning for the next day, and then usually there's somebody else below me in my position who would then be talking to all the extras, all those people in the background you see moving around and, you know, just kind of chatting. But all of that sort of fell on my shoulders, so I had a lot of stuff to take care of that day. So that was definitely the most challenging part for me.
Sure. For me, I think the most challenging day was the party scene, the liquor, not the liquor store, the bar. Because we didn't have all day there, we didn't have all the extras in the world to stuff into the location. We had to also make sure all the lighting is consistent. There's a lot of different lighting colors going on, so to make sure that it looks like a packed bar scene, just make sure everything is in check. Cutting from the wide shot to the close-up to the other angles, we just, you know, make sure everything's consistent, right? So I guess having more time would have made it better. More budget would be great. But yeah, overall, that scene is definitely most challenging, technically speaking.
The exterior scenes are always the most difficult, especially in the city. I think for me, the toughest day was actually the last day, which was when we shot the accident scene. That's correct, right? That was the last day. We shot the accident scene that day, and we also shot all of the moments where Chris was in his car at the intersection getting honked at, both of those moments. And from a shot list standpoint, it wasn't that big of a day, but it was all exteriors all day long, and that's always tough in the city, especially on a budget like ours. We get permits that we can afford, but we can't get street closures because, you know, on the budget that we had, right? So we can get the right to shoot there, but then after that, it's up to us, right? And so we do our best to control it. One of the things that happened during the accident scene was, you know, we were looking for a place to shoot that was easy to shoot at, but still, you know, city street, city intersection. And so from a producer's standpoint, I said, oh, Martina, I think there's this awesome spot, and it's right by one of my clients in my production company's building, and like they'd let us use the restrooms and go in and take breaks in the air conditioning. When you're shooting exterior scenes, you got to figure out where are people going to use the restroom, where are people going to eat. And so I found this place where, oh, well, we can set up in their parking lot and we can use their restrooms. Well, come to find out, the day of, we show up and there was a pop-up community vaccination happening in the parking lot, and there were DJs, and there was a big party about it, which was great, right? Community vaccination, yay. But then all of a sudden, here we are, 100 feet behind us are DJs and people dancing and people getting vaccinated all day long. And so when you watch the scene of the accident scene, a good portion of that had to be fixed in post, and again, that's another shout out to the post-production people, the editor, and places like Noise Floor who go in and just, you know, really make that work, because what we had in the can was really quite challenging, especially from an audio standpoint. That was the toughest day for all those reasons. But again, exterior scenes in the city are always fun. And then if everything goes right, then it rains. So then you got that. But
It's like a wedding. Great. Yeah, one in the back, and I think we'll wrap it up maybe after the next one or two questions.
So, my name's Gabe. I'd want to say what a wonderful job everyone on stage here did, and from the writing to the casting to the filming and the cinematography, from the comic relief to the drama, it was all beautiful. I'm sure you guys will go really, really far. And the story was so true, and it was so true. And I work with a lot of similar type contractors, and it's been a rough couple of years, and we've just lost some people. We've lost a few people in very, very tough years, and the story is just so true. And America is like not the thing that you usually see in the movies, and people around the world don't get to actually see that. So I just want to say, you guys must have worked very well as a team. You told an incredible story. And do you think that were you able to feel some movie magic when you were making the film? Were you able to have fun or like really get a sense that you were doing something that would turn out to be a great project?
I would just love to pass the mic along and everybody answer that question briefly, because I want to hear the answer too.
There was a scene, the scene where Abigail slapped Chris in that, what do you call that room? Vestibule room. I think from a lighting standpoint, I think that was my favorite scene to light. It's very stylized, very dramatic. I think after we shot that scene, I just felt like, man, we shot a movie. That felt so good. I want to shoot more like this. Like, just, can you start writing Exile 2? Let's get that going. All right.
What did you get?
Music, movie magic?
Yeah.
Oh, movie magic, yes. For me, it was still that scene in the kitchen with when Chris is telling Abigail about how he arrived in America and how he stayed in America. That was definitely I remember standing in the dining room and I watched the first take and then I did not watch anymore. I was like, I get it, I'm gonna start crying on set if I have to keep watching this over and over and over again. So that was the big moment for me.
For me, it's all magic when I get the opportunity to make films. So it's all magic for me. I think it was a fantastic opportunity. It was an opportunity that I've been looking for. Martina gave it to me. Being able to support someone who's a writer and a director who's from Chicago, who's doing this for all the right reasons from my perspective, and to be able to support a female filmmaker.
I just felt like maybe I'd never been as happy as during that production period. I was exhausted, and since I tend to have obsessive tendencies, it's nice to be so wiped out that part of my brain recedes for a while. So I loved it. And for me, the revelation was to cast Marcin in the role of Chris without really knowing what he would do with it. I mean, there weren't an endless number of fluent Polish speakers in Chicago who showed up to want to make this movie, and Marcin was Chris. There was one day I was in the kitchen looking at a monitor. Victor had his camera on Chris. It was a close-up where Chris is hearing the Chopin Nocturne for the first time. And it was this otherworldly experience of knowing that somewhere else in this space, a man was doing this subtle facial communication, and I was watching him remotely, and I realized that we had lucked out by finding an actor who, I like to say that Chris made me look like a good director. Marcin made me look like a good director, and so much of it was internal to him, understanding where his character was in any given scene and bringing such subtlety and nuance to it that, it was like, it blew me away.
Now I've got really tough question, because for me, all 11 days was big magic. It was big magic with you guys being around, with all the changing lights that we turn day to lights and lights to night. It was incredible. It was probably the scene that we did, the scene at the mirror scene. That was probably the toughest one for me, and not even like being at the front of the camera. It was trying to put myself with all those feelings that character got at the moment. That was probably the most difficult one, and I was already exhausted because that was the day that we did 2 scenes, and that was after the store one. So then I really, like, after that day, I was like, I hope that's gonna end soon.
All right, movie magic. I can relate really deeply with most of the characters in the movie. The main character, there was so many moments that I can see myself in it when I was like living here as an immigrant, and then all the frustrations and all the struggle. And then somebody said like he was not brave. He was brave because he was like doing hard job, like laying low. He was not confronting people because maybe he wants don't want to have any problems with the authorities or everything else, If it comes to my character, I've been like that many times, silly, weird, Polish dude, and then I like Polish jokes, so I gotta say, yes. It was really tough to listen to that joke and pretending that it's not funny because it was funny, and I was like, yeah. But after I was hearing that 10 times in a row, I was like, okay, yeah, it's not funny.
For me, the most magical thing about the project, and I was only on the set for 2 days, but I was involved in a little bit in some behind-the-scenes stuff, was the professionalism of everybody who was involved. Everybody who's sitting on the stage and everybody who's sitting out there and who isn't here. Everybody was pulling in the same direction, and then that really made it quite special, seeing how everybody was invested, how everybody was very well prepared and very competent in what they did, and you can you see the results of that collective labor on screen, and just everybody's commitment. Martina's in particular, seeing how she was so incredibly invested in it, and how she believed in it 100%, and the other magical thing was, not everything worked out. There were accidents and mishaps and this and that, and nobody, skipped a beat. Everybody kept plugging through it. Nobody got frustrated. It was just an overall, a very, very, very impressive collective effort on everyone's part.
I couldn't sleep for a couple of days because of that joke. I actually started to believe in that joke. It was actually funny. And then I was just laughing to myself, at night even. What a joke, man. Well, anyway, magic, just to be on the set of the movie or theater production or I don't know, some concert that you are partake in, it's magical on its own. It's just magic right there. If anyone, has ever done this kind of job, you know what I'm talking about. But I have to take one moment about the scene that you didn't do nothing, right? In this liquor store thing. It's ironic that actually way too often this kind of behavior is happening right now in real life. That people actually are too afraid, too fearful to do anything. I don't know if it's just the times that we live in right now and who wants us to be so afraid and everything. I'm just saying right now that we have to stop this and we have to lose that fear, because fear is gonna get us nowhere. That's what I wanna say. No fear, guys, all right? Thank you.
My most magical moments were all the moments that you couldn't see. It's the moments of connection between cast and crew, and then cast and cast. Is there a blooper reel? I would really love to see that. Andre, he's blowing the bubbles, right? You know how many bubbles he had to blow? Worked really hard on those bubbles, and at the end of it, the very final take, he accidentally spit out his bubble gum, and it landed on a tripod. We were COVID safe, it was fine. The getting to know everyone on the crew, all the little conversations, getting to know one another as human beings. So much fun. Martin, I feel like I really bonded with you when you were struggling to spell your name. Y'all wouldn't know this, but we at one point had to write it out on a big poster behind the camera because he kept forgetting how to spell his own name. Those are the magical moments. I mean, this is wonderful, right, to see it on the screen, but the things that bond us when we're making this thing, those are the moments that are the most magical for me.
And I think what Corey said was so important, because being an actor and going through the pandemic and not have any work to do for a while, and then you come back on a set with Martina, Corey, and all these wonderful people. And I'll tell you, everything was so smooth. Every shot that we took and everything that we did was so organized, you know. And I was kind of, usually people panic. It's like, oh, did you get this? Did you get that? Did you get the food? You know, these people are waiting. You know, it was nothing like that. And it went so smoothly. And I said, you know, it's a blessing for an actor to get on a set and to do things that you're passionate about. And if you're an actor and you're passionate about things, or if you're a producer and you're passionate about things, and you get on the set, it's just magical for me. And I think that played so well. And both of those teenagers were like, they were unbelievable. You know, for her to play the way she did and the way he was so timid. You know, of course we had the other sets of teenagers who were good, equally good, but I know you picked the right one, Martina, finally, with getting them together, because I think it played so well. I was feeling magical. I mean, I kept looking at them doing it, and I said, oh, the camera's on me too, so I gotta better play my part. You know, it was just wonderful. And I think for an actor to get on the set, it's always magical because they want to create something. And you don't see everything until you get on those seats to see what the post-production has done. And I think that is magical for me.
I think Kat is going to, wrap this up. I just want to say before there's too much noise in the room, the bar is open. And in the bar area, there's some screens where you'll cycle through slideshows with behind-the-scenes photography from the production itself and stills from the film. You can see how we made this thing, and gosh, it was great.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.